When we opened in 1914, it wasn't on campus. Classes were held at the old armory downtown.
There was nothing here.
Williams Hall was the first building to be completed and opened. It was women's dormitory, a university hall, as we call it today. It was called administration building at that time.
Bowling Green had an agriculture department. They offered classes in judging livestock and in dairying and things like that. And so we actually had livestock in the basement of Mosley Hall.
A couple years later, Hannah Hall opened.
There was a grade school held in Hannah Hall. It was a training school.
So that was the four buildings that constituted the campus for the first 5 or 6 years.
By this time, the school colors of burnt orange and dark brown had been officially adopted, after an industrial arts professor saw the unique combination on a woman's hat. In 1929, the school officially became Bowling Green State College.
The Great Depression in the early 30s had a significant effect on Bowling Green.
There was a movement in the legislature to convert Bowling Green State College into an insane asylum.
It was a quick fix. They didn't have to build new facilities. They just had to get rid of the university or college at that time and move in.
Well, the residents of Northwest Ohio, hearing this and knowing this, rose up in arms.
Despite the Depression, the university was able in 1935 to become a university.
World War II brought another wave of change to Bowling Green State University.
As you might expect, there was a sharp decline in enrollment, especially of male students.
And many of the faculty, especially the men faculty, left to enlist in the war.
We became one of the colleges and universities nationwide, of which there were about 240, which had a Navy V5 and Navy V12 program on campus during World War II.
Well, the campus explodes. It's happened everywhere in higher education after World War II. They had to crowd students into makeshift living quarters. The men's gym became a place where men bunked. Under the old football stadium, there were bleachers, which under the bleachers became another part-time housing area.
They brought in trailers.
There was an area called Falcon Heights.
It's amazing just how small these places were that these families lived in while usually the husband was going to school.
Under Harold Anderson's leadership since 1946, the Falcons had amassed an impressive record on the court. And yet he saw the need to make a change to his team, a change that proves one person can make a difference.
Bowling Green had never had an African-American basketball player. And I became the first African-American basketball player at Bowling Green State University.
I had been inspired by a high school teacher to study journalism. At those years, journalism was in the College of Business, so I spent my 4 years, a little less than 4 years before I was expelled in journalism in the College of Business. I was expelled along with 11 other guys. I was the only senior to be expelled. It was 10 days before graduation.
The big man with a booming voice. I thought that was a pretty good description of Bill Jerome. And Jerome was really ideal for university in the 1960s. That was a time when higher education was expanding. Legislature was putting resources into Bowling Green in a way never seen before or since.
For 2 years, I was in Army ROTC, and I can remember we used to have marches. We would have parade marches out in front of what is now University Hall, and that green area, that grass area on there. And I can never forget a lot of the students around there shaking their fists and signs at us and things like that. Things were changing. The whole tenor of the country was changing.
And then Kent State occurred, something that nobody ever dreamed could ever happen on a college campus in the United States.
Bowling Green was directly affected by that. I mean, our students, felt a kinship that was going on at Kent.
Bowling Green became the only state university that stayed open.
In the 1970s, we had two names that popped up immediately in track. One was Dave Waddle, one was Sid Sink. Actually, at Bowling Green, Sid Sink had had some better success than Dave Waddle. Both were very successful.
Coach Jerry York led the Falcon hockey team to the NCAA Final Four in the 1983-84 season.
We play our first game. It was against Michigan State, and we beat them 2-1. And we play Minnesota Duluth in the championship game. The game goes into overtime, and a second overtime, and a third overtime, and a fourth overtime. At that point in time, it was the longest collegiate hockey game ever played when Gino Cavallini of the Falcons takes the puck, slips in front of the net, tucks it in the goal, and Bowling Green wins. A 4 overtime national championship hockey game.
The women's basketball program also found itself in a comfortable situation during this time.
Kurt came to Bowling Green at the beginning of this decade and has had some tremendous success. Certainly the 2006-2007 team was something very special. The first time a MAC women's basketball team has ever made the Sweet 16. They still hold the record for most wins in a season, 31, by any MAC men's or women's basketball team ever.
Undoubtedly, the future will bring more change to Bowling Green State University. One thing is certain: the traditions of excellence, the sense of community, and the inspiration drawn from the success of the past will make BGSU an important part of the changes ahead.
The people that have come out of this community and on this campus and have gone on to national and international prominence, it's pretty significant when you stop and think about it. And the fact that they, almost to a person, have good feelings about their experiences here in Bowling Green over the long haul.
This Bowling Green is a special place.
You have a sense more of community here than you would at a larger institution or an institution in a larger city.
The athletic programs were fun. The extracurricular activities here were exciting and multi-varied.
I think we have a very strong faculty.
It was pretty easy to become an admirer of Bowling Green State University.
We have never lost sight of our original beginnings as being responsible to train teachers.
I think there's an atmosphere that permeates itself around this campus that is very welcoming, that's very arm extending, that's an atmosphere of, wow, come here and you'll enjoy it here, you'll get a great education here, you'll feel comfortable here, you can make your mark here.